It's a me, Mario! Actually, no, it's me. I'm back, and I finally, well, I've been working on a couple different rigs, but I finally got around to sitting down to film this video. I'm very, very busy. The summer's gone. It's officially over. I did do a bunch of filming of my big pro boat this summer. But the footage wasn't very good, and I kept forgetting my camera when I took it out, so I didn't bother putting that together. I might take some highlights from it, or maybe film something next year when I'm home. But today we're going to look at the RC10T, and it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag of a nostalgia high and a low for building the darn thing. So we're going to take a look at it, and I'm going to talk about some of the issues with Team Associated's re-releases. They're not doing a great job compared to Kyosho or Tamiya. So we'll talk about that. I'm still looking forward to driving it. It's been sitting here for 2 weeks. Haven't driven it anywhere yet. It is working. So we'll take it outside, we'll run it, we'll see how it works, and I'm curious about how it will stack up against the 22T from Losi. I'm sure it won't be as good because one is modern, one isn't. So here it is, my Super Mario Edition, Team Associated RC10T Classic Edition. This paint job, if you're looking closely, it's actually the Nissan King Cab paint job with the blue, white, and red. But I thought I was going to work on getting some reproduction King Cab decals and doing up as a Tamiya King Cab edition. However, it's not a King Cab. So that's what stopped me from going through the trouble of ordering those, getting those decals. It's not a King Cab. So I thought it'd be really odd for it to say King Cab but have no King Cab. So I thought about the colors, red, white, and blue. So I thought it could either be America. I'm not American, so kind of cross that off. Could be the UK. I'm not British. So I went with Mario. So it is the Mario edition. I got some custom-made decals for a Super Mario, and there's his beautiful little face on it. Really happy with the paint job. I have done metallic, Tamiya blue, dark blue. The white is actually that pearlescent white, and the red is their mica red. So there's some special colors. And what looks like black in the back is actually gunmetal, which is also metallic. And I went through all the trouble of masking and making the cage aluminum, and that was by far the most work. And that is done with aluminum paint from Tamiya. So it all came out very well. It was actually a very difficult paint job. And just for something different, I made the windows yellow, and I think it looks good. It looks nostalgic for some reason. I can't quite explain it, but I like the yellow windows, and so we threw yellow windows in. So I'm very happy with how it looks. It definitely looks like the original. As far as building it, this is something probably you'd be a lot happier with if you didn't have to build it. And I'm pro building, so that's something for me to say. And the reasons for that is simply, this is not a good kit. Not meaning that the parts are bad, some of those are bad though. But meaning that the idea of building this, if I was a beginner builder, you'd never see it. It is just, there's just too many issues. So the first issue, before we even look at this poor excuse for a manual, is that all the sizes they kept, for most of them, they didn't use metric. They used imperial sizes or American sizes. And that wouldn't be a problem if I had any wrenches. Now, they did give Allen keys or hex wrenches that match the imperial sizes. However, they didn't give the little cross, you know, the little tool for any of the nuts. And I have no tools that match, so everything had to be done with an adjustable wrench or pliers, which is annoying to say the least. Using little Allen keys and then having no nuts. I have nuts. Having no wrenches that fit the nuts. Was really expecting a tool like this. Would have been very, very useful, but of course it's not in it. What else is not in this kit? Well, the pinion gear is not in it. They say because they don't know what motor you're going to use, so you'll have to pick up one of those. But definitely that wrench would have done well. So let's talk about the manual. Now, the issue with the manual is, besides, now I've built a couple other Team Associated or Element RC kits. Their manuals, I always rank them in third place behind Kyosho and of course Tamiya #1, just for ease of use. This manual is a step down from their normal fare. There are significant issues. There are pieces that are not explained where you put them. For example, here, when you're assembling the rear end, there are springs that go inside the rear cups. They're not, you get the springs in the kit, but you don't get any pictures of them being installed. So they never put the springs in. So you might be wondering where they would go. There's two little springs. They go inside the rear drive cups. Are they necessary for the truck to work? I don't know, but I mean, they're there and that's where they go, but they're not in the manual. Another issue with the manual is it's just sometimes really hard to figure out which holes you put screws in. Now, that can be the same with any manual, but like this section here, step 7, I guess, page 7, step 3 of bag B, you're adding the front piece to the chassis. There's several holes that can be put in for short wheelbase or long wheelbase. You have to put them in for long wheelbase. They do not work if you put in the short wheelbase. You can't put your servo saver in. Oh, and there's no servo saver, so there's no pinion, there's no servo horn or servo saver, and there's no little T-wrench. So there are issues. There are issues with this kit. Another issue with this kit is when they actually, with the manual, is when they actually tell you the wrong thing. So over here, when they start talking about which bushings to install in the transmission, I forget which ones now because it's been a little while since I built it, but the bushings that go into the top gear are not the right bushing listed. So there's those issues. Stuff that just doesn't match, like you don't have loose balls. These are all attached in a bearing. Just things that are different from the manual to actually building it, missing steps, and yeah, just hard to see. So at least we got a paper manual, but this is bad. And if I was a first-time builder, even if I had all the tools that they didn't include, this would be frustrating to build with. Not a good manual. I wouldn't recommend a noob building this kit. So that is not the reason this has been sitting around for a couple of weeks. I haven't made the video. I was really excited to get this kit. I was one of the first to get it. I just happened not to be home. I happened to be overseas. So I never get to put it together. And when I got back, I rushed to put it together and was really looking forward to it, but it was not a fun build. So the tool issue, the manual issue, but when I got down to the end, the biggest issue of all, I ran into poor machining. And it was poor machining of the top shaft in the transmission. So the shaft that connects to your slipper clutch assembly, etc. This piece right here. it was not machined, and I didn't know what the issue was. So it's too big for the bushings. Now I've installed bearings, except for when I destroyed my bearings or had to use bushings. It's too big in diameter at places for the bushings to fit on. So you think you have the right bushing or bearing, you go to put it on, it doesn't fit. I jammed one on a bearing and broke it getting it off. So when I was building the transmission, so what I had to do was actually sand out the inside of a bushing so it would fit on this shaft. And the other side fit the ball bearing, so it's got a ball bearing. This side, actually the long side on the outside, has a bushing. So I built it all, I put it all together, turned the wheels, the motor turned the motor, the wheels turned, everything seemed good. I put the ESC in, I put in the battery, hooked up the receiver. I'm gonna drive this. Slipper clutch slipped like crazy. So I was like, what's wrong with this slipper clutch? Now it's not a traditional slipper clutch because you have two slipper plates. And then you have the gear attached to the outside rather than the gear being in the center of the two plates like is on traditional or modern ones. So I had built it. I had put in my ball bearings because I had the ball bearing kit, and everything seemed to fit. When I put it together, the bearing actually wasn't fitting, but I didn't know that. So I put more and more pressure on the spring to make the plate tighter, and it would still just spin around. So I thought I'd done something wrong internally, so I took it all apart, looked at the inside of the transmission, put it all back together, tightened everything down as much as possible. It still slipped, and then I started thinking, maybe the bearing isn't fitting onto this top shaft. Even though it slid all the way in, it seemed. And so I went to take it apart, and I couldn't get it apart. Even though I took the bolt off and everything, the spur gear would not remove. So I had to pry with a screwdriver inside my slipper clutch to pry it apart. And what had happened was the bearing almost went on and it jammed. So when I was putting pressure on the screw, it was not tightening the slipper clutch. It was just putting more pressure on the bearing and jamming it on this top shaft. So once again, I had to take a bushing and I had to sand out the inside of the bushing till it was a diameter to fit this top shaft. So that may seem like a little problem, but when you don't know what's wrong and you don't know why things aren't working, it's actually quite a big problem. So I would say with the issues with the transmission, getting bearings stuck on the top shaft initially, building it, and then the slipper clutch not working, I would say I spent a good 6 hours on that. And needless to say, when I was done and everything was working, I didn't feel like reviewing this because I was just gonna, that's probably my whole video right there. I'd just be bitching and moaning. And it's unfortunate that Team Associated, Tiger, RC or whatever the Chinese company is, when they do these re-releases, they've let their quality control slip, most definitely. And these are not cheap kits. These are hundreds of dollars, and a little issue like that, not easy to spot and very, very frustrating. And the poor manual. Come on. You've had like 20 years to make a good manual for this truck. You could have the best manual ever created and put Tamiya to shame, but instead you didn't. So it seems like corners are cut and the build experience is poor. Now, we get that out of the way, let's take a look at my truck. So here's the truck. Did a pretty good job with the stickers, few bubbles under that white one. But anyway, looks pretty good. As I said at the very onset, the outset there, I'm happy with the paint. Happy with the paint looks good. Generally happy with the truck now that it's built. The paint job was actually an extreme paint job because there's so many colors. So I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actual, 6 colors, and then the backing would be 7. So there's 7 different cans of paint on this truck. I've put some of the associated decals. I put one up front. You get Team Associated, but I mostly just put through some Mario stickers on. There's a lot of stickers for this truck that say RC10T. I don't know, that's kind of redundant. We know what it is. There's the inside. You see the bright silver backing. It's a very thin shell, so be warned when you're cutting it out. Have some nice sharp scissors. It'd be probably pretty easy to tear the shell. It's fairly thin, but it is beautiful. I am very happy with the shell. Now, here is my truck. As you can see, it's the RC10T. We have it written on the chassis, and we have some crooked authentic sticker over here. I don't know if that's showing up. It's kind of reflective. It's actually crooked, so they did that for me. As for electronics, I have put on the handout spec Hobbywing just stock ESC, and we have a 13.5 turn Hobbywing just stock motor, and that is on a 26 tooth pinion, so quite a large pinion. It's going to have a lot of torque, this motor, 13.5 turn. I don't think it's going to be too fast, but we should be able to get some speed out of it. So that's the electronics. I have an OMG 25 kilogram Pro IP67 waterproof servo, which is quite a nice one, a little bit more expensive than the other cheap OMGs. And I have this non-kit, because they didn't come with it, just sort of some aluminum servo horn. Now, one issue about building this kit, even if you had the tools come with it and we didn't have any issue with the manual, is these end pieces for the links, I don't know, link ends, I guess you call them, they are very hard plastic and they will deform or break. We can actually see some stress on this one right here. And they're a different diameter ball, so there must be an imperial ball than standard ones. So you can't just replace these end pieces with ones from, say, another kit or from Tamiya. And they won't fit these balls. And if you go to put the balls in, the thread is different. So they have a different thread. Everything is different. So kind of unfortunate they have this odd size. I wish that Team Associated would just update it like modern metric and then modern hardware specs for things like that. That would have been cool, rather than using the old hardware specs. Another issue with this kit is this servo saver piece up front. You might be able to see in the side there, you see a little purple spacer. That's because the thread of this post didn't allow the bolt to get close to, there's a little plastic bushing or spacer in there, didn't allow it to be close, and this would just move up and down on this post. So it seems like they didn't thread this enough, so another machining issue. So I had to put a spacer in there to keep things relatively tight. Another little issue with the manufacturer is it's not really easy to see on camera, but when these two screws are completely threaded into these nuts, it is not tight. Like, you needed one more round of thread on those bumper pulls. Another thing, I don't think it's showing up too badly, a little bit, is certain things are just a different color. So everything should be white. And like these arms on the back are white. They all match. Engine case, everything, the spur gear, everything matches the same white. Everything's kind of matching until we get up front, and the servo saver is a particularly bright white. And then we go back to the yellowish kind of white. For these are cream. And then the front arms are almost yellow or gray yellow by comparison. And I think you can see it when you compare the bottom of the leg of this shock to what it's mounted to. You will see the difference in the two colors. So that's unfortunate. Why couldn't they keep their color mix the same? Why does this have to be super white and this have to be kind of dull gray, and then everything else matches? So also the cups, the spindles for the axles on the front, they are also that other kind of gray white, and you can see the contrast, hopefully, with the front rim that is scraping on that. But anyway, all right. So it's all built. We can see on the back, if we look very closely, you can see the springs in there. Kind of an odd design. Before I built this, you can see a bit of grease I got everywhere. That's because I had this apart so many times. You see online, everyone warns you about these wheels. It's so easy to strip out. I had no issue with it. When you're putting your wheels together, these 3-piece wheels, just pay attention to the back. When everything is flush, where the hex is, when everything is flush, the outside and the inside piece are flush on the back, you're done turning them down. And do a star pattern. Do a cross. Do a star pattern as you tighten them. It should be good. Overall, I really am pleased with this kit. I'm very excited to take it out for a drive. I do wish that Associated had matched up the plastics, had kept better quality control for issues like that post where the thread's not enough thread, or for that top shaft. And it's so annoying. I went online to buy a new one because I wanted everything to fit and everything to be good. And well, you can't just go buy a top shaft for this. It's not so easy to find. You'll find the ones that fit the more modern stealth transmissions and the slipper clutch system, which I think they should have just, same as on the DR10 drag car, they should have just put on this kit, because they have them all machining and stuff available, and it's just the top shaft that's different. The transmission is the same. I do like the design of the chassis. I do like the aluminum chassis. I don't know why it needs to be 2-piece unless you want to do the 2 lengths, which you can't. I do like the design of the chassis. I put no protection on it, so mine will get all scratched, but I do like the chassis. I do like the tub. It is quite stiff. I like how everything bolts together on the back. The case for the transmission bolts to this aluminum, which bolts to this back piece of the chassis, how it's all built and held together. Very, very nice. I think it should run pretty well. I would have liked to have seen them include the wide front wheels. I think that'd be cool. Now, I have put in, I probably will buy some, because I have put in the handout spec ESC, etc., and the 13.5 turn motor, because I'd like to take this to like a Legends or Nostalgia stadium race, or even a multi-kart or whatever, different types of vehicles, but traditional ones or old school kind of race. We have some of them in Shanghai, so I'd like to take to that, and I'd like to have that electronic set in case I want to do a handout spec race somewhere else. So this thing should be old really fast. I don't want to crash it and break it. I don't think parts are easy to come by. But that's the truck. I'm excited to drive it today, and part of that excitement comes because it's been a week or more since I finally figured out that slipper clutch, and I've let that pass. So let's take it out, let's see what this truck can do, and see if it's worth getting. Before I even drive it, I'm going to say it's worth getting if you have a lot of patience, and you have a lot of tools, and you've built a lot of cars. So it's worth it, those things. Let's see it's worth it as far as how it drives. So it's not going to be a shelf queen, it's going to get driven, so let's see how this Mario inspired RC10T works. Let's do it.
those axles are a little bit short. And they actually get the springs in there and they pull right out.
Yeah, so these axles are a little bit short. They should be a few millimeters longer. And it's been shoved out. Now it's spinning freely. So I guess on the inside, I need to put some foam to push it down against the spring. So back to the house. I'll do that. That's kind of stupid.
hot. Motor's overheating. Hey, it's just the slipper clip. But that's enough. That's enough, folks. The slipper loosened up. That was a very short run, only about, I don't know, 20 minutes. Nowhere near a full battery pack put through. So what do I think after driving it? I put on the middle angled rear mounts, and I read online somewhere you should put on the most degree toe in on the rear wheels for the best performance. I find it does like to spin in a circle, even though it's long wheelbase. It is actually kind of a short rig. But the reason we stopped filming or stopped driving is because the slipper clutch completely backed off and now I have no drive. That's okay. My feeling now that I've driven it is a little bit like when I built it. Yeah, if you really want one of these classic team associated, go for it. But if you want a really awesome classic high quality car, get the Kyosho Legends. They're far better performers actually, and they've all been upgraded for modern times. Now let's look at damage. I've cracked my shell. I told you the shell was very, very thin, and we've broken the shell right there and right there. The sticker's holding it together from crashing it, so I can't really fault it, but the shell is so thin, like that probably shouldn't have cracked, but it did. The bottom, because I didn't protect it, I see a lot of people online putting tape on. I do have tape for it, I just didn't use it. I got a few scrapes. I was careful not to drag it on concrete, but a few little scrapes, so it's been run. And a little bit of damage to these upper arms, the lower part on this side especially. Yeah, it's all right. That's probably not what people want to hear, but the RC10T is all right. That's as far as I'm going to go. Oh, it seems like it's breaking in here too. The shell is really flimsy. Is it fun to drive? A little bit. It is actually pretty good at jumping, I must say, except for when I clamped the brakes on and it totally landed on its roof and probably did that. It actually is quite balanced and quite good at jumping, and As far as the gear ratio, what I set up with the 26 tooth pinion gear, that seems to work quite good with the 13.5. Now I was running in long grass, so the motor did get hot, so just be aware of that. It was intermittently losing a little bit of power when we were doing the ramps. Alright guys, that's the RC10T from Team Associated Super Mario Edition. Should you buy one, if you build a lot of kits and you have some Imperial size, American size wrenches, that would be good. And if you want something to set on the shelf, definitely Shelf Queen. I think we should have all zoned in, keyed in when Team Associated released crystal versions that aren't meant to be driven. These aren't really meant to be crashed and bashed and driven. That's my take on it. So yeah, it is what it is. It's good. Alright, so that's the end of the video. If you liked it, please like the video, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and we'll be back more often. To get the bad taste of building this kit out of my mouth, I've been building a Tamiya, which is going quite well, so that'll be coming up, so stay tuned for that. I got a Tamiya coming up, and yeah, peace out, happy RCing.